pleasure being here. I want to introduce Sheriff Spangler because I remember about 6 or 8 years ago, maybe 6, I don't know, that he was not introduced. And I didn't have anything to do with it. It was before I was in Congress. But I want to make sure he gets introduced again. It kind of ticked me off. It's always stuck in the back of my mind. He bought a bunch of tables and that night. And I said, Sheriff, stand up so we can embarrass you. It's a pleasure being here with y'all. I brought my wife and my daughter, beautiful wife Kelly, and my daughter Isabel. Got a young man sitting with her. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. But I did introduce the sheriff early on. So it is a pleasure here being actually having my little girl with me. She's gone through a little rough spell there. Got run over by a horse, and but she's a tough little girl. Her mama was telling me that when she was laying there in the hospital, after they told her she broke 5 ribs, had her spleen lacerated, her pancreas was all messed up, knocked braces out of her jaw, and broke her wrist. She told the folks in the emergency room that, look, she didn't even break a nail. So she's still a little girl, so that's pretty cool. But my wife and daughter and I always, Congressman Duncan would get up here and he would tell stories about his family, and they were always right on and they were funny. And I always thought I would never, nothing ever happens to me that would be that anybody want to hear. But this one story I think is kind of interesting. We were watching that crazy TV show, that movie. It was Don't Look Up. It's basically Hollywood just making fun of conservatives about our beliefs. And it's a pretty funny movie. There's a lot of adult language in there. And so I'd have to mute it so Isabel could explain it to me and Mom what the exact they were saying. But we were talking, and Kelly said, if that meteorite hit, I'd be okay with it. And I said, really, why? She said, because we'd all be with Jesus. And I said, well, that's pretty cool. That's all right. And Isabel tells me these things, and Speaker Pelosi actually has a granddaughter named Isabel. And so she always says, how's my girl? That's all she can remember. And I try not to look in Speaker Pelosi's eyes too long because I think she's trying to steal my soul. but we're cordial, and it's kind of funny. And so she walks by and says, what's my girl doing? And I said, well, Speaker, she was just talking about you the other day. And I told the story about what Kelly said. And I said, and Isabel said, she said, Dad, if that meteorite hits, there's only 3 things in this world that are going to survive. And I said, what are they, baby? And she said cockroaches. And I said, yeah. I said, she's been reading her science. And she said, your dog Roscoe, because that crazy dog Roscoe, he's been mauled by a bear. He's been hit by cars. His teeth are knocked out. Kelly and Isabel hate him, but somehow he survives. And then she said, and Nancy Pelosi. Well, I told Pelosi that story. I sit on the back row, second to the back row, and Boebert will tell you this is where I always sit. And Speaker Pelosi, as she's walking out of the House chamber, she said, you tell that Isabel I'm a survivor. I said, I think she knows, Speaker. But it's a pleasure, though, having, and that was a true story, actually. It's a pleasure having my friend Lauren Boebert here. I call her Boebert just because that's her last name. And the first time I met her was actually on January 5th. I remembered, because they accused her and several people of giving these illegal tours of the Capitol. And they said she had 5 people with her and she was giving a tour. Well, guess how many boys she has? And they said there was 5 men that she was taking around. Guess she has 4 boys and a husband. And I saw her and I thought, who is that woman? And I thought she's sort of like a prison guard because she had all those boys in line, and I was admiring her skills, Lauren. So very much so. But and the other time that we kind of became friends, we were sitting at a dinner. Kevin McCarthy had this dinner and invites certain people to it, and we were sitting around and I had an empty seat beside myself, being the 435th most powerful member of Congress. Wasn't in that much demand. And lo and behold, Lauren Boebert sits beside me. And I didn't know her, she didn't know me. I said, hey, Tim Burchett. And we talked, and we found out we had probably more in common than we didn't have in common. And she then the first thing she said was, "Burchett, you're not going to put ketchup on that steak, are you?" And as I poured my ketchup out on my steak, I said, "Yes, in fact, I am." And she told me that she owns a restaurant, and she said, "If you would have done that in the restaurant, they would have asked you to leave." And I said, "And I would have left too." But it's always a pleasure having her with me. She wanted, when I talked to her today, she said, "Make sure you tell them the story." I didn't know how it fits into this, but I'm going to tell you, you get this one for free. She said, "Tell that story about Liz Cheney and how you all got into it." And so, actually, I had run-ins with Liz Cheney before it was cool to have run-ins with Liz Cheney. She and I kind of butted heads, and I called her out on a few things, and she didn't like that, and she might have exhibited her First Amendment on the House floor one time to me and said some pretty harsh curse words to me, and so we were in conference, which is our caucus meeting, our big caucus meeting, and you're allowed to speak. And I got up to talk about what was going on, what I thought were some problems, and she cut me off, and I said, "Liz, honestly, if I want to be disrespected by women, I'll go home to my wife and daughter." And she didn't know what to say to that. And shortly after that, she was deposed and defeated. So what am I going to say about Lauren Boebert that hasn't already been said? Well, she's a mama. She is the American success story. We talked about coming through rough times. She has come through rough times. Growing up, she worked at McDonald's and then a Burger King, I believe. Met her husband at the Burger King, I believe. Have it your way, that's right. She lived in 2 all-beef patty, special sauce, cheese, lettuce, pickles, and onions on the sesame seed bun at McDonald's and went to Burger King. But she is an incredible leader. I've grown quite fond of her. We sit back there and we just cut up all the time, and we vote consistently together. Because I believe this country, folks, in all seriousness, these elections, we're on the cusp. We could lose this country. We could lose everything that people have fought for in this country, that our veterans have laid down their lives for. We could lose our energy. We've lost our energy independence. We've lost our economic will. We're spending money just out of control. And until we get control of that, we will continue on a downhill slide. Our enemies no longer fear us, and our friends no longer respect us. But somebody who understands like we do in East Tennessee, she speaks a little funnier accent because of the Colorado thing, but she's pretty cool. And that is my dear friend Lauren Boebert. I want to ask her to come up. Please give her a big